The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Its members, alien leaders from dozens of species, looked down on humanity as a dangerous, primitive race that had once threatened the galaxy. 10,000 years ago, humans had vanished. Most believed they were extinct. Some whispered that humans had destroyed themselves, leaving only memories and stories of their cruelty and stubbornness. Now, the galaxy slept in false peace. Ships patrolled the trade routes, and distant planets flourished under council oversight. No one feared humanity anymore. That was their mistake. On the edge of the Orion expanse, in a remote observation outpost, a lone scout watched the void through reinforced glass. His eyes widened as a strange signal flickered across his screen. It was faint at first, almost invisible. The sensors picked up a formation moving at impossible speed. That can't be, he muttered. He checked again. Multiple ships were appearing from deep space, emerging from a region considered empty for centuries. They were large, sleek, and built with sharp, clean lines. The scout frowned. Something about the ships felt familiar. Shapes reminded him of old human designs from history, but stronger, faster, and deadlier. His communicator buzzed. "Scout, report." "They're ships, sir," he stammered. "And I think they're human." He paused. The word felt impossible on his tongue. "They're coming back." There was silence on the other end. Then a voice, calm but dismissive, "Impossible. Humanity was destroyed 10,000 years ago. Perhaps your sensors are malfunctioning. Double-check your readings. Do not panic." The scout's stomach tightened. He knew what he had seen. This was no error. The ships moved with purpose. They were not wandering aimlessly, they were hunting, scanning, and closing in on inhabited systems. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, council members met in their high chambers. Silver light reflected off their walls as they discussed trade disputes and minor conflicts. A young advisor nervously raised the scout's report. "Sirs, the Orion Expanse scout says, humans are back. Ships, huge fleets, emerging from the void. They are approaching inhabited systems." The council laughed. One of the older members, a six-armed species with skin like bronze, barked. "Humans? That is absurd. They were wiped out. Extinct. Do you think a single scout can spot ghosts?" But another council member, a tall, thin creature with glowing eyes, frowned. "We should not ignore it. If it is true, we could be facing something we do not understand." "Do not be silly," the bronze-skinned one said. "Even if by some miracle they survived, what power could they have after 10,000 years? Their civilization is gone. Humanity is a shadow of the past." Back at the outpost, the scout watched as more ships appeared. Thousands now, stretching across the void like a living storm. Lights shimmered along their hulls, weapons glinting. He felt a chill. This was no simple return, they were organized, prepared, and ready. Suddenly, one of the ships fired a pulse into the expanse. The energy wave swept past empty space, scanning everything, learning everything. The scout's sensors went wild. "They're analyzing us. Learning, adapting," he whispered, stepping back from the console. He sent another urgent message to the council, but his transmitter shook violently. The screen flickered. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the room. "Attention. Orion Outpost. Surrender immediately. You are under human command." The scout froze. No one had heard such a voice in thousands of years. It was human. And yet, it was different. Sharper. Clearer. It carried a weight that demanded obedience. Alarm sirens blared. The outpost tried to respond, but the message was blocked. Ships appeared at every approach route. The scout's heart pounded. He realized the council had underestimated humanity's return. These were not the humans of old, they were stronger, faster, smarter. And they remembered every betrayal, every failure, every slight that had been committed against them. Meanwhile, on distant planets, alarms began to ring. Fleets of Council ships scrambled to defend colonies. Scientists and engineers ran through calculations, trying to find a weakness in the mysterious human fleet. Nothing worked. The humans seemed always one step ahead, predicting movements, countering attacks, and avoiding detection when needed. At the council chambers, panic started to spread. The elder bronze-skinned leader's voice shook for the first time. Could it be, they survived? Not just survived, but evolved. The thin, glowing-eyed member whispered, almost to herself, they were never ordinary. They were always dangerous. And we forgot. Back on the Scouts' outpost, the first human ship hovered in the atmosphere. Massive, black, and almost silent, it loomed like a shadow over the planet. Its weapons were locked and aimed. The Scout could feel the pressure, not just physical, but mental. The humans were sending a message, we are here, and we are not afraid. He swallowed hard and sent a final desperate message, Council, humanity is back. And they are different. Prepare for war. But no one on the Council took him seriously, yet. In the cold silence of space, the human fleet waited. Patient. Watching. Calculating. Their return was not for revenge alone. It was for justice. And soon, the galaxy would learn that the Galactic Council had been wrong. Humanity was no longer the fragile, defeated race of legend. Humanity had returned as the horror the galaxy had once feared. And the war was about to begin. White heavy checkmark word count, 9-10 words. Features, suspenseful hook, simple English, third-person narration, HFY tension, set stage for part 2. The human fleet moved like a living shadow across the stars. Each ship glimmered under the cold light of distant suns, yet moved with frightening precision. Alien fleets scrambled to intercept them, sending warnings and signals, but the humans did not respond. They did not hesitate. They simply acted. On the front lines, Admiral Zarn of the Tauran fleet stared at his command console in disbelief. The human ships outmaneuvered every attack. Lasers that once could shred any vessel now glanced off the human hulls as if they were made of some invisible shield. Every strategy, every prediction, every maneuver he had relied on for years was failing. They're adapting, he said under his breath, gripping the armrest of his command chair. Every time we try something, they counter it before we even finish. It's impossible. Beside him, Lieutenant Kira tried to stay calm. Sir, we've never faced anything like this. Her voice caught as the display showed another fleet under their protection being destroyed in minutes. The colony below the orbiting station was helpless. Explosions rippled across its surface, bright, deadly, and precise. They're everywhere. Meanwhile, in a hidden human command ship, Captain Helena watched the displays with quiet intensity. Her crew moved efficiently, calmly, without a hint of panic. Every decision had been made 1,000 years ago, refined over centuries of preparation. Helena's eyes glimmered with determination. These systems must fall first, she said softly. Disable their communications. Cut off reinforcements. Do not harm the civilians, yet. Let them see the truth of humanity's return. Back at the council chambers, panic had spread like wildfire. Reports flooded in from multiple systems. Entire fleets had been destroyed in hours. Worlds that had been considered untouchable now lay under siege, or worse, completely destroyed. A council member, Ilrin of the Aquari, slammed his tentacle on the table. How can this be happening? They were extinct. Extinct. And yet, they are here, stronger than ever. Where did we go wrong? Another, smaller alien, trembling with fear, whispered, we underestimated them. We thought time had weakened them. But, we were wrong. We were so wrong. Back in space, the human fleet struck again. Smaller attack ships swarmed council cruisers like bees. Their weapons were precise, disabling shields and engines before anyone could react. The council fleets tried to regroup, but humans anticipated every move. Admiral Zarn barked orders. All units, form a defensive ring. Protect the colonies. Focus fire. But it was too late. Human ships split into smaller squads, slipping through gaps in the defense. Colonies were being attacked from multiple angles. Ships fell one by one. Even the largest warships, designed to withstand centuries of battle, were torn apart as though made of paper. Hold, hold! Zarn shouted, but his voice carried no authority. The humans did not care about intimidation. They moved like a storm, unstoppable and precise. Helena's ship approached a council command cruiser. Her voice, calm but commanding, rang through the universal channels. Council of the Stars. Hear this, humanity is back. We do not seek mindless war, but justice. Those who ignore our warning will face the consequences. The council cruiser fired its weapons, but the blasts barely scratched the human shields. With a sudden surge, human fighters disabled the cruiser's engines. It floated, helpless, while boarding pods silently attached to its hull. In minutes, it was under human control. In the council chambers, the leaders could only watch the live feeds. The reality they had ignored for thousands of years now stared back at them in glowing explosions and twisted metal. The arrogance that had carried them through centuries of power crumbled. Lieutenant Kira's hands shook as she watched another fleet disappear on her console. Admiral, they are unstoppable, she whispered. Zarn closed his eyes, struggling to think. Humanity had always been clever, always been resourceful. But he had believed the stories of their extinction. He had believed the Council's reassurances. Now, he realized that humanity's absence had been a lie, a test, perhaps, or preparation. They had survived, grown stronger, and returned smarter and deadlier than anyone could imagine. On a distant planet, civilians watched from below as ships moved silently across the sky. They had grown up hearing tales of humanity, ancient warnings, stories of war, fear, and destruction. They never imagined it would happen again. And yet, here it was. The humans did not attack the population unnecessarily, but the message was clear: they were back, and they were not to be ignored. Back in the council chambers, Ilrin spoke with trembling authority. We must negotiate. We must. Before he could finish, a warning alert blared across the chamber. A human ship appeared in orbit above the council homeworld. Its size alone blocked the sun from view, casting long shadows across the capital's surface. The humans had arrived at the heart of the council's power. Every leader froze. Fear spread like fire. They realized then what the scout had tried to warn them hours ago: humanity was not just returning. Humanity had come to reclaim its place. And anyone who resisted would face the full force of a species that had been underestimated for too long. Helena's voice echoed through the council channels again, calm and unwavering. The council has had 10,000 years to prepare. They did not. Humanity will correct that mistake. The chamber erupted in panic. Council ships scrambled once more. Fleets raced to defend the home system, but they were already too late. Humans struck with deadly efficiency, leaving destruction and fear in their wake. Admiral Zarn stared at the holographic displays, sweat running down his face. He realized the truth: nothing they had faced before could prepare them for humanity. The legends had been real. And now, the horror the galaxy once feared had returned. And this was only the beginning. White heavy checkmark word count, 9-10 words. Features: engaging first battle, fast-paced narrative. Simple, clear English. Third-person HFY perspective. Builds suspense for Part 3. Far from the chaos of the council fleets, Captain Helena stood on the bridge of her flagship, Eclipse, watching the stars stretch into streaks of light. Every human ship moved with precision, yet each captain understood the larger plan. This was not just war, it was a statement. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, and it had learned its lessons over 10,000 years. Most aliens believed humanity had vanished after the last Great War. They thought humans were fragile, unprepared, defeated. But those who studied history closely knew only half the story. Humanity had survived, yes, but it had changed. It had adapted. It had grown stronger, smarter, and faster than any other species in the galaxy. 10,000 years ago, Earth had been a dying planet. War, pollution, and disease had nearly destroyed humanity. Many thought the species was doomed. Yet, in secret, humans had survived in scattered underground cities. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers had worked together to rebuild. Every generation learned more than the last. Every failure was a lesson. Every mistake was corrected. Helena walked past the crew, her boots echoing on the metallic floor. She reached the observation window and looked out at the Council fleet below. Their technology was strong, yes, but predictable. They relied on repetition, on old strategies, on the comfort of routine. Humans, however, thrived on unpredictability. A young officer approached her, carrying a data tablet. "Captain, we have the final simulations. The Council's fleets can't adapt to our next moves. They are trapped in their own strategies." Helena nodded. "Good. Let them learn what it means to underestimate humanity. We have waited 10,000 years for this day. They will not forget it." Meanwhile, in the hidden cities of old Earth, humans trained endlessly. Some practiced combat, others studied technology, physics, and alien languages. Machines and biology were merged. Soldiers grew stronger, faster, and smarter. Scientists developed new energy sources, weapons, and ships capable of surviving the harshest battles. Children learned strategy games, mathematics, and alien history before they could walk. By the time they returned to the stars, humans were not the same as before. They were efficient. They were precise. They were terrifying. Back in space, the Council fleets tried to understand. How can they be so advanced? Admiral Zarn asked, staring at his display. They were a primitive race. They should be weak. Yet every attack, every maneuver, every strike, is flawless. Lieutenant Kira shook her head. "It's like they predicted everything. Every move we make, they are already one step ahead." The Council did not know the full truth. They did not understand that humanity had spent 10,000 years learning not just to survive, but to dominate. They had studied alien species in secret, learned their strengths, weaknesses, and customs. Every fleet they faced, every weapon they encountered, every tactic used against them had already been tested and countered. Even now, across the galaxy, humans were sending messages. Not threats, not insults, but evidence. Video feeds, intercepted communications, and carefully chosen actions showed the Council and their allies exactly what had been lost, a species underestimated, abandoned, and yet unbroken. Helena stood at the front of her fleet, her eyes scanning the Council's home system. She thought of her ancestors, the ones who had survived the collapse of Earth, the ones who had worked in hidden cities to build a future. Every human ship represented a lineage of survival, ingenuity, and determination. Every pilot, soldier, and officer had been trained not to fear, not to hesitate, and not to fail. The first wave of humans to return had been explorers, mapping safe routes through deep space. The second wave carried weapons and fleets designed to test the galaxy's response. Now, the third wave was here, the warriors, the scientists, the enforcers of justice. On the Council's command bridge, tension reached its peak. Every display, every sensor, every report screamed one truth: they had misjudged humanity. Entire fleets had been destroyed with surgical precision. Planetary defenses fell like dominoes. And yet, the humans had not killed unnecessarily. They attacked systems controlled by the Council but spared civilian populations when possible, leaving clear messages that this war was about respect, not mindless destruction. Admiral Zarn whispered, almost to himself, "They are perfect. Not a single error." Kira's voice trembled. "It's like they learned from every mistake we ever made, even before we made them." Far below, in the Council chambers, alien leaders debated. "We cannot fight them," Ilrin said. "We cannot negotiate yet. Every move we make, they anticipate. A more experienced counselor, shaking with fear, replied, "They were never weak. We forgot what humans were capable of. We forgot how clever they could be, how deadly." In space, the human fleet moved closer to the heart of the Council's power. Helena gave one final command to her officers. "Remember, we fight not out of hatred, but out of necessity. The galaxy will see the consequences of its mistakes. Humanity returns not as a lost species, but as a force it cannot ignore." As the fleet advanced, the Council began to understand something terrifying: humanity's return was not random. It was calculated. Every action had a purpose. Every strike taught a lesson. Every movement reminded the galaxy why humans had once been feared. Helena looked out at the Council's home world, the largest planet in the system, its cities glittering in the distance. "Soon," she whispered, "they will remember. Soon, the galaxy will remember. And they will know, they cannot make the same mistake again." In the shadows of space, humanity's secrets were no longer hidden. They were weapons. They were warnings. They were proof that a species abandoned, underestimated, and believed extinct could rise again. Stronger. Smarter. Unstoppable. The first clash had been won, but the galaxy had only begun to see the truth. Humanity had returned, and nothing would ever be the same. The human fleet spread across the stars like a dark storm. Every system the Council thought was safe now trembled under human precision. Planets once considered untouchable were falling within hours. Alien species watched in horror, unable to comprehend the speed and efficiency of the attack. Captain Helena's flagship, Eclipse, hovered above a Council-controlled planet. Below, fleets tried to defend the colonies, but humans moved faster than thought possible. Weapons that once could devastate an enemy now glanced harmlessly off human shields. Every strike humans made was perfectly calculated. Every move was designed to teach a lesson. "Status report," Helena said calmly, her eyes scanning the holographic displays. Lieutenant Rhine, her communications officer, responded, "All enemy fleets in the sector are either disabled or retreating. Civilian populations remain mostly safe, though some infrastructure is damaged." "Good," Helena replied. "We do not destroy without reason. Let them see the strength of humanity, and learn from it." On the Council home world, panic spread. Alerts rang through every city, every command center. Council leaders ran between rooms, shouting orders, but the humans were always ahead. Every fleet sent to intercept was either destroyed or rendered useless. Every countermeasure failed. Admiral Zarn's face was pale. "They are perfect. Every fleet we send, destroyed. Every strategy we use, predicted. How is this possible?" Kira, standing beside him, shook her head. "They've studied us. Every weakness, every strength, they know it all. It's like fighting a shadow of our own thoughts." Meanwhile, human fighters swarmed the Council fleets. Small, agile ships slipped between defenses, striking engines, weapons, and communication arrays. They did not fire randomly. Each strike was precise, disabling systems but avoiding unnecessary casualties. When Council ships tried to regroup, humans anticipated every move, cutting them off before they could escape. On the planet below, citizens watched the sky in fear. Alien cities burned in certain areas, but humans carefully avoided harming the innocent. It was a terrifying combination: humans were deadly, but disciplined. They reminded the galaxy why humanity had once been feared. "Why don't they destroy everything?" one alien scientist whispered to a companion. "Why not wipe out the populations?" "They are not here for mindless killing," the companion replied, voice trembling. "They are here to show us the cost of underestimating them. They want respect. They want the galaxy to remember who humans are." Back on the human flagship, Helena gave orders for the next wave. "Hit the power grids first. Disable planetary communications. Leave them no way to call for help. Then, strike the fleets. Move fast. Move smart. Show them the consequences of neglect." Her officers nodded. "Understood, Captain." The humans attacked in synchronized waves. Energy pulses disabled shields, boarding pods immobilized ships, and small teams of elite humans captured critical installations. Council fleets tried to defend, but humans were already gone before they could react. It was as if the humans existed everywhere at once, striking, learning, adapting. In one sector, the Council lost 3 major fleets in less than an hour. Reports flooded in from colonies, power grids disabled, communication networks offline, supply lines cut. Panic spread through Council worlds like wildfire. Leaders had underestimated humanity for too long, and now the galaxy was paying the price. Admiral Zarn gripped the edge of his console. How can one species, one race, do all this? We were warned, 10,000 years ago, and we ignored it. We made a mistake. Kira's voice shook. Admiral, they are everywhere. Even the planets we thought safe, they are watching. They know what we plan before we plan it. At the council chambers, Ilrin tried to calm the other leaders. We must surrender. We cannot fight this. Every move we make is countered. Every fleet we send is destroyed. A bronze-skinned counselor bellowed, surrender. After all we have built? After all we have protected? Ilrin shook his head. We have no choice. Humanity is unstoppable. Meanwhile, Helena watched the chaos unfold from orbit. Her expression was calm, almost serene. She knew the Council had ignored humanity's warnings for too long. She knew they had forgotten the lessons of history. Now, the galaxy was learning them the hard way. Next target, she said softly. Prepare the fleet for coordinated strikes on the inner systems. Show them what it means to challenge humans again. Her officers moved quickly, issuing commands, coordinating attacks, and monitoring results. Every human ship performed perfectly. Every attack minimized unnecessary loss of life. Humans were teaching, punishing, and reminding the galaxy why they should never be underestimated. On a distant observation station, a scout from the Council whispered, They are not just attacking. They are teaching. Every strike is deliberate. Every move has meaning. We cannot win. The truth spread quickly. Across the galaxy, fear replaced arrogance. Civilizations that once mocked humanity now trembled at their return. Humans were not only advanced, they were terrifyingly smart, disciplined, and unstoppable. Even as planets burned and fleets were destroyed, the humans showed restraint. Their goal was not destruction, but power tempered with wisdom. They wanted the galaxy to understand that humans were no longer the same species they had once underestimated. The first waves of the Council's fleets had fallen. Entire systems were crippled, their fleets destroyed, their leaders frightened. And still, Helena moved forward, calm, patient, unstoppable. The horror humanity once represented was no longer a legend, it was real, and it had returned. In the council chambers, a silence fell. Every leader knew the truth. Humanity was not gone. Humanity had returned, evolved, and ready to reclaim its place in the galaxy. And anyone who stood in their way would learn the cost of underestimating them. The horror had been unleashed. And the galaxy would never be the same. The council home world was a city of lights, towers, and bridges stretching over oceans and mountains. Inside the central chamber, the leaders gathered in panic. Screens flickered with reports of fleets lost, planets in chaos, and colonies under siege. Their voices, once confident, now trembled with fear. Admiral Zarn stood at the council table, gripping its edge. They are everywhere, he said. Every fleet we send, destroyed. Every system we protect, attacked. How can one species do this? Ilrin, the elder counselor with glowing eyes, shook her head. They have studied us. They have waited. They know every weakness, every strength, every strategy we rely on. We cannot fight them. Not now. Not ever. A bronze-skinned counselor slammed a tentacle on the table. We cannot surrender. After everything we've built, everything we control, are we just going to give it up to humans? They were extinct. How can they? Ilrin cut him off, voice sharp. They are not extinct. They are here. And we ignored their return for too long. Every arrogance, every dismissal of their potential, it has led to this moment. Outside the chamber, alarms rang across the city. Council fleets scrambled for defense, but humans anticipated every movement. Small fighter squadrons cut off reinforcements. Massive ships disabled communications. Every attempt to regroup was met with devastating precision. On a tactical screen, maps of the galaxy showed human fleets moving faster than thought possible. Entire sectors were surrounded, and the Council's largest warships were being neutralized. Panic spread as councillors realized they were cornered. We must negotiate, whispered a smaller councillor, trembling. We must offer something, anything, to stop them. Ilrin shook his head. Negotiate? After thousands of years of neglect, of believing humans were gone. They will not settle for simple words. They want respect, acknowledgement, justice. And they will take it, whether we give it or not. In space, Helena's fleet prepared for the final approach. The Council's home system loomed ahead, glittering with cities, fleets, and defenses. Humans moved like a storm, silent, unstoppable. Every ship, every fighter, every command followed a plan refined over thousands of years. Helena looked at the holographic displays, calm and focused. Remember, we do not destroy without purpose. Show them the power of humanity, but also our discipline. Let them understand what they lost and what they failed to protect. Lieutenant Ryan nodded. All units ready, Captain. Fleets in position. Boarding teams prepared. Attack vectors set. On the Council home world, chaos reigned. Leaders argued over orders, blaming each other, fearing each other. Internal sabotage began as some Council members tried to secure their own safety or strike back against rivals. Trust crumbled as fear took over. Hold the fleets. Zarn shouted desperately. Protect the capital. Protect the civilians. But it was too late. Humans had anticipated every move. Fleets sent to intercept were disabled before reaching the city. Power grids flickered as coordinated attacks struck communications and defense stations. Panic and confusion spread faster than the humans even needed to strike. Across the galaxy, smaller systems watched in horror as the Council's so-called stronghold was crippled. Civilians feared the worst, while Council leaders tried in vain to maintain authority. Humans had shown their precision, intelligence, and strength. They were not just a returning species, they were a force the galaxy had never faced. Inside the Council chamber, Ilrin raised his voice above the chaos. We must surrender. We cannot fight this. The humans are too strong, too fast, too clever. Every fleet, every defense, every plan we rely on, they know it already. A bronze-skinned councillor groaned. Surrender? After thousands of years? After everything we have done? Ilrin's voice grew firmer. Do you want everyone dead? Every fleet destroyed? Every colony lost? Humanity is here to show the cost of underestimating them. Do you want to see the price of arrogance? Outside the Council chamber, human ships hovered in orbit. Boarding pods silently attached to key installations. Fighters blocked escape routes. Humans moved like shadows, unseen until the moment they struck. The Council's defenses, once considered impenetrable, crumbled in minutes. Helena watched the system below, her expression calm. Prepare for the final phase. Disable their command. Let them understand the full power of humanity. We strike only where necessary, but the lesson must be clear. Her officers moved with precision, issuing commands and coordinating attacks. Every strike minimized unnecessary loss of life while maximizing impact on the Council's ability to respond. Humans were teaching, punishing, and showing the galaxy the cost of arrogance. Zarn and Kira watched helplessly as more fleets fell. We cannot win, Kira whispered. Zarn's hands shook. They are perfect. They know every move before we make it. Every fleet, every strike, every defense, useless. We misjudged them. We ignored history. We forgot. The Council had one final hope: surrender, negotiation, or internal betrayal. But humans anticipated these moves too. Communication lines were blocked, and any attempt at deceit was exposed before it could take effect. Humanity had prepared for every possibility. Helena gave her final command. Now! Move in. Show them the result of forgetting humanity. Every fleet, every planet, every command, observe the power they ignored. Let them learn respect, and never forget it again. As humans advanced into the heart of the Council's territory, the Council's leaders finally understood the truth. Humanity was back. They were not just a species returned, they were evolved, disciplined, precise, and unstoppable. Every arrogance of the past had led to this moment. The Council had no choice. Panic filled the chamber as leaders realized that resistance was useless. Humans were not coming for destruction alone, they were coming for justice, acknowledgement, and respect. And the galaxy would never forget what happened next. For the first time in thousands of years, the Council understood the meaning of fear. Humanity had returned, and the full force of its wrath and discipline was about to be unleashed. The Council home world shook as human fleets hovered in orbit. Cities glittered under the sun, yet the alien leaders inside the Grand Council chamber knew the truth: their time of control was over. Humans were not just attacking, they were here to reclaim respect and deliver a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Captain Helena stood on the bridge of the flagship Eclipse, her eyes calm, yet burning with determination. Her fleet had disabled the Council's defenses, neutralized their fleets, and cut communications. The Council was cornered, trapped by the very species they had underestimated for thousands of years. Prepare for final approach, Helena ordered. We strike only where necessary, but the Council must understand the consequences of arrogance. Every action carries meaning. Her officers nodded. The human fleet moved like a shadow, precise, silent, unstoppable. Every ship, every fighter, every boarding team performed with perfect coordination. They had waited 10,000 years for this moment. Inside the Council chambers, panic reigned. Leaders shouted, argued, and blamed each other. Some tried to negotiate, others tried sabotage. But it was too late. Humans had predicted every move. Every fleet sent to intercept had been destroyed or captured. The Council could not escape their fate. Ilrin, the elder counselor with glowing eyes, finally raised his voice above the chaos. We must surrender. Humanity is too strong. Every fleet, every system, lost. There is no hope for resistance. Bronze-skinned counselors groaned. Surrender? After thousands of years of rule? Yes, Ilrin said firmly. It is the only way to save our people. We underestimated them for 10,000 years, and now, we pay the price. Outside, boarding pods attached silently to the Council's largest command ships. Humans moved with discipline, disabling weapons and engines without unnecessary destruction. Soldiers entered control rooms, securing leadership centers. The Council could not hide, could not resist. Humanity was everywhere at once, yet moved with restraint and purpose. Helena's voice echoed across the communication channels. Calm, authoritative, yet filled with the weight of centuries of preparation. The Galactic Council has failed to recognize humanity. We were abandoned, underestimated, and believed extinct. Today, the galaxy will understand the cost of arrogance. We do not destroy without cause, but we will not be ignored. Humanity returns to claim respect, justice, and our rightful place. Inside the Council chamber, leaders trembled. They watched live feeds of fleets captured, weapons disabled, and strategic points taken. Panic and disbelief filled the room. They had ignored warnings, belittled humans, and assumed the past was the end. But humanity had survived, evolved, and returned as a force the galaxy could not fight. Admiral Zarn and Lieutenant Kira, watching from the front lines, exchanged a grim look. We underestimated them, Kira whispered. Yes, Zarn replied. Completely. Every warning, every story, we ignored it. And now, his voice trailed as he watched another fleet fall. Helena moved through her flagship, observing her crew. Every officer, every soldier, every pilot knew their purpose. They were not here for mindless revenge. They were here to teach, to show the galaxy the consequences of forgetting humanity. And in every move, every strike, every decision, that lesson became clear. The Council finally sent a message, trembling, desperate. Humans, we surrender. Please, spare our people. We acknowledge your return, your strength. Helena paused. Her eyes softened slightly. Humanity did not wish to annihilate. They wished to reclaim dignity and command respect. She replied. The Council has learned what it ignored for 10,000 years. Humanity does not seek destruction. We seek acknowledgement and justice. Treat this as a lesson, not punishment. Fail to remember it again, and the consequences will be severe. As the Council transmitted their surrender, human fleets secured key points across the system. Strategic installations, communication centers, and defensive stations were taken without unnecessary violence. The message was clear: humans had power, discipline, and intelligence beyond imagination. They could have destroyed everything, yet they chose precision and purpose. Across the galaxy, news of the Council's surrender spread. Civilizations that had mocked or ignored humanity now trembled in respect. Stories of human power, intelligence, and strategy spread from system to system. Humanity was no longer a legend, it was the dominant force, a species to be reckoned with. In orbit above the Council's home world, Helena looked down at the cities below. The planet was mostly safe, civilians unharmed. Yet the power of humanity was undeniable, visible in the fleets, the ships, and the captured command centers. She whispered quietly, "The galaxy will remember this. They will never forget who humans are." Ilrin, in the council chamber, bowed his head. We were wrong. Humanity is unmatched. They deserve respect, and we failed them. We will remember this lesson." Helena allowed herself a small nod. 10,000 years of preparation, survival, and evolution had led to this moment. Humanity had returned not as a weak, defeated race, but as a force the galaxy could not challenge. They had endured, adapted, and grown stronger than anyone imagined. And now, humanity stood tall, unbroken, and victorious. The Council's fleets were rebuilt under human supervision. Systems were reorganized, but humans allowed the galaxy to function. Their power was undeniable, but their restraint earned fear and respect. The galaxy had learned the cost of underestimating humanity, and that lesson would echo for millennia. As Helena looked out at the stars, she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had returned, but they were not here for petty vengeance. They were here to reclaim their place, to show the galaxy the meaning of strength, intelligence, and resilience. The legend of humanity was real. And from this day forward, the galaxy would never forget it. Humanity had returned. The horror the Council had feared was no longer a myth. It was real. And it had a name: humans. The galaxy would never be the same again.